Imagine it's 1648. The 30 Years' War is finally grinding to a halt and Europe is gasping for peace. Out of the ashes rises the Treaty of Westphalia, a wild idea that states, not kings or emperors, hold power. This treaty didn't just stop a war, it gave birth to international law's core principle, sovereign equality. But what does that really mean, and how does it shape everything from diplomacy to modern war? Let's dive in. Before states understood their rights, power was chaos. How did sovereign equality tame it? Let's untangle this historic pivot. The Treaty of Westphalia in 1648 marked a seismic shift. For the first time, hundreds of fragmented principalities accepted that each state has an inviolable right to govern its people without foreign interference. Starke points to this watershed moment in Munster, showing how it rewired European diplomacy and birthed modern international law. Think of sovereignty as an ancient fortress wall, thick, imposing, designed to keep others out while protecting what's inside. Starke explains how this legal shield guards a country's rights but doesn't mean absolute power. It's more like a complex firewall. It lets some interactions through, like treaties and diplomacy, but blocks others, namely invasions or meddling. Yet sovereignty often stumbles on realpolitik's slippery slope. Starke uncovers cases where powerful states bend equality to their advantage, like Britain's imperial dealings or Cold War proxy struggles. Sovereignty is a promise, but enforcement depends on who's strongest. This tension shows international law is part ideal, part chess game. Words on paper can spark war or peace. How do treaties really bind global actors? Let's decode their power and pitfalls. Starke highlights the 1969 Vienna Convention as the backbone of treaty law. Think of it as the constitution for state agreements. For example, the post-WWII Genocide Convention wasn't just words, it legally bound countries to prevent atrocities. This formalizes trust in international relations, turning promises into enforceable commitments. Treaties work by a delicate dance. States must consent freely without duress. Starke likens it to a dance floor where partners must move in sync. One misstep and the dance and the treaty collapse. Diplomatic negotiation, then, is more art than science, balancing national interests and global expectations. When treaties break, consequences ripple far beyond signed pages. Starke describes the 1939 German-Polish non-aggression pact shattering when Germany invaded Poland, igniting WWII. Such breaks reveal the limits of law without enforcement and remind us that trust, once lost, is a costly thing to regain. War shakes the world, but international law tries to tame it. How do conventions and organizations navigate this brutal terrain? Starke tells the gripping story of Switzerland's neutrality during WWII. Their steadfast stance allowed them to avoid invasion, but neutrality demanded strict adherence to international norms like forbidding troops on Swiss soil. This wasn't passive. It was a legal balancing act recognized globally, protecting a small nation amidst chaos. The International Labor Organization, ILO, uniquely tripartite with governments, workers, and employers, emerged as a pioneer in linking human rights with international law. Starke shows how the ILO's conventions set standards on child labor and working conditions, proving international law isn't just about wars or treaties, it's about everyday human dignity. From the failed League of Nations to today's United Nations, Starke tracks the evolution of global governance. The UN's charter codified the prohibition of aggressive war, but peacekeeping missions revealed limits and costly challenges. Still, Starke highlights the UN as the closest thing to an international referee, shaping law amid power struggles. Remember that Treaty of Westphalia signing in Munster? It's not just history, it's the DNA of every global handshake and border dispute today. International law lives in tension, between ideals of equality and raw power, between promises made and sometimes broken. Next time you hear about a treaty or the UN stepping in, try spotting these threads. Your takeaway: see sovereignty not as static walls, but as bridges, fragile, negotiable, yet essential. Subscribe for more book summaries like this one.